Shalom, Kahala Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, Bashem Rukok Radash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect, who are the house of David reborn again in this generation. And Shalom to the 130 Yasharallah, who today are known as the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians, who before losing their true heritage were known as and still are the true Hebrew Israelites of the Holy Bible. In today's lesson, we're going to talk about the incoming price hike of food and how you're going to need to get used to eating less meat. Right now, let's go ahead and read this first, though. This is 2 Ezra 16 and 21. Behold, victuals shall be so good cheap upon earth that they shall think themselves to be in good case, and even then shall evils grow upon the earth, sword, famine, and great confusion. And that's actually happening now, or we're pretty much coming out of this right now. Right? This is a future prophecy which the angel Uriel had prophesied or told Ezra that would be some of the tokens of the coming end time. Right? Victuals, by the way, is basically food, right? Supplements, things that things you need to eat, right? Bread, oil, water, that type of stuff, right? Now, what if you have been to the stores recently, all right, or even to a restaurant, right, which is just happened to me today, okay, you will have noticed that the prices have gone up considerably. Right, not just a small amount, and I'm talking about here in California. It may be different in different states, so go ahead and post in the comments if you've noticed this in your state, and also just post the state that you're in, right, if you want to. Now, that being said, right, we're seeing this type of life, right? We're seeing where food is extremely cheap, right? Remember the dollar menus at Taco Bell, McDonald's, right? All the fast food restaurants, they always had a value meal or value menu, right? Meat itself used to be fairly good priced, right? And what are we seeing also happening right now? Evil is growing upon the earth, right? And we're also seeing the sword. Basically, a lot more wars are breaking out, right? And we're also seeing the active buildup of armies in the Valley of Jehoshaphat, right, over there in the Middle East. Right? Just today, Russia brought out, that they are basically threatening war with America now. Right? So we are close, people. Also, another thing that's going on right now is great confusion. Right? There was just a sensationalist, news event that happened due to this disgusting BET Music Awards by that little Nas X guy, man, a little freaking devil, right, where he performed an act of sodomy while dressed in Egypt garments, right, proving, like the brother from England noted, right, that this is spiritually, that right there confirms without a doubt that this place here in America is what the Bible referred to as Babylon the Great, as it is known as spiritual Sodom in Egypt. Right? Well, back to this, right? This here is talking about the time which we are now coming out of, right? A time where victuals were cheap, right? But we are now seeing that food is now starting to rise. Right? Let's continue. Verse 22. For many of them that dwell upon earth shall perish of famine, right? And the others that escape the hunger shall the sword destroy. So these are the things that are coming, people. These are the things which we are prophesying will happen in the Bible, right? Or are in the Bible that will happen in the world, right? This is what the Lord has in store for the 2/3 of the Negroes, Latinos, and Native Indians. That means 2 out of every 3 Negro, Latinos, and Native Indians in this world will face this type of end of their life, and that's going to be the story of them, right? Now, it goes on to give an explanation of more about the people who are going to perish during this time. Verse 23, and the dead shall be cast out as dung, and there shall be no man to comfort them. For the earth shall be wasted, and the cities shall be cast down. There shall be no man left to till the earth and to sow it. You see, because this is talking about the time that we are now going into, right? It is very apparent and obvious if you read the news that the elites are now shutting down the food system. This is why they're paying farmers to kill off their animals, to stop production, to basically bury their onions, right? This is why they have basically crippled the restaurant industry, right? And this is also another reason why they are continually stocking the major cities with food at the supermarkets, but the lower suburban supermarkets, the little outreach places, are starting to see reduced stock, right? Things that are not being replenished, right? And why is that? Because the government, they want, when they shut off the food system, right, they want it to be a surprise to the majority of the world, right? They want to catch everybody off guard. So this is why they have more leverage to do what they want to do, right? But this is why I'm here, and a lot of other brothers have been posting videos like this, and also just in general, a lot of truthers on YouTube have been posting videos of the coming famine and proving to you, right, that the world is coming in for a really hard time, right? Let's go and read this article that talks about these food prices, right? This is from Zero Hedge. It says, restaurants have no choice but to raise menu prices amid inflationary pressures, right? Just today, I went and had some Thai food, right? And, and I spoke with the lady there, man. Little, immigrant from Thailand, nice little lady, right? And we talked about the coming, inflation and how things are going to get crazy. And she was telling me, right, because I went there and I ordered the stuff I normally order, and I wanted to get something called the Crying Tiger beef, right? It's a spicy beef, very delicious dish. But she told me when I was ordering it that they don't have any beef dishes. And I said, why? And she said, because it's too expensive right now. And she's only serving chicken right now. So she says that pork and beef are too expensive right now. So she can't offer those. And I said, that's fine, because I basically just mostly eat chicken anyways. Right now, the thing is when I went and picked up the order, she apologized for not having it. I told her, don't worry about it. I was like, I understand. I was like, prices are really crazy for beef, because then I shared with her that my lady, her father is a butcher, right? And he works at a fairly popular, grocery store out here in California. And carne asada, or as they say in English, skirt steak, used to be about, I think 3 months ago, was about $8 per pound, right? But now, or just 2 weeks ago, it went up to $18 a pound, right? So it increased $10. And I just talked to him tonight, and he said it went back down to $15 a pound, right? So, basically almost twice its value in 2 months. So, so back to the Thai restaurant, I was talking to the lady, and I told her, I was like, yeah, look, this is only going to get worse. And because, the prices are getting crazy for beef. But I told her, I was like, things are going to continue to rise. And this is just something people are going to have to get used to. And she replied back with, yeah, that's true. She's all, when she went to the store, she said that she could see things are getting worse. And she said a can of coconut milk that she would buy used to be $10, but now it's being sold for $20. All right, and so this is just showing you examples of the inflationary prices that will soon become very evident. All right, well, let's read this article and let's see what is being reported. It says, all vaxxed up, or maybe some have the jab antibodies. Many Americans are ditching their on-demand food delivery apps this summer and are supporting local restaurants at an in-dining experience, but have been sticker shocked by the rise of menu prices. Restaurants, big and small, are passing along the increasing cost of basic commodities and labor. For instance, the cost of vegetable oils, cereals, dairy, meat, and sugar have been erupting since the beginning of the pandemic. Compound this with the labor cost, along with the cost of everything soaring, and restaurants already suffering from a lost year in 2020 are rising menu prices at a much faster pace than historical rates, according to Bloomberg. Increasing menu costs are displayed in government data showing inflation rising at its fastest clip since 2009. Right? And why is this? Why are the food prices rising? Well, we're going to get into the plain, simple answer. Well, we are now, as Apostle Tahar confirmed it, we are now experiencing the beginning stages of inflation, right? And that prophecy, which I just read in 2nd Ezra's, we are now coming out of that prophecy. We are now going to go into the latter part of that prophecy, talking about the famine that will come upon the earth, and that those who eventually will survive the famine will eventually die by the sword, right? Because what we will soon come up against is going to be an invasion of America by foreign troops who will ultimately, do a lot of damage here. So says the Bible. Now, that being said, besides the standard inflation price, increase that's going on, which is ultimately what this is all about. Because again, remember, it's not just food. It's the devaluation of the dollar. It is the increase in the price of lumber. It's the increase of metal, which, I recently went to a metal yard to go buy some metal posts, and I basically had to pay almost $100 more than I did 2 months ago, man, for 3-inch square tubing, man, but I need it, so I freaking had to pay it, right? And this is ultimately just the cost of inflation, man, right? And besides these other things, we're seeing other things starting to go up, man. Gas, but these devils are trying to keep that devalued, right? You're having the people dropping the dollar, and all these things are all connected, people. This is what you're witnessing here is the fall of the Edomite Empire, known as Babylon the Great, or as what we call it today, America. Right? This is the falling pains that are coming upon this empire. Now, these devils are never going to say that their kingdom is falling. They're simply going to try to explain it off by saying, oh, it's because of labor cost and all this stuff. But no, remember, man, these people are going to lie to your face, right? The sky is going to be fucking blue, and they're going to tell you the sky is red, right? You cannot trust the media now, man. It is a propaganda machine, right? And it's simply there to keep you controlled and satiated, right? But this is why you must look into the news yourself. This is why you need to go into these alternative sources, right? ZeroHedge.com is a great source of news. RT America, PBS, right? You have things like Reuters or the AP News, right? Go to the actual news articles, man, and see what's going on. That, or watch these lessons that the brothers bring out, right? We try to always stay on top of these subjects because, again, as the Bible says, we are appointed as watchers to try to warn you of what's coming and to prepare yourself, man. And in this case, I'm preparing you to telling you, man, that prices for food, not only are they going to rise at restaurants, but they're going to rise everywhere. So much so that it is going to be a major change in the way that your diet is set up. Okay, you're no longer going to be able to overeat so easily, man. Right? People buying pounds and pounds of meat for a weekend barbecue. That's going to be a very rare thing, right? It's going to be something that's going to cost what used to be like $30-40. It's now going to cost you about $70 to $80 for the same amount of meat, right? So consider that, people. That's the type of life that we are now coming into, right? So just as like I was talking to that Thai restaurant lady, right, where she said that things are now starting to become how it was back in her homeland. where she said that when you would go to the market in a little town that she was from, that she only had a choice between one or two products when she wanted certain things. She says that's how it started, how she's seeing things are starting to happen. And I told her that's exactly what's going to happen, because you see these elites at the top, which are ultimately the kings of Edom, they now want to shut down the food system, right? And what they want to give you is a new type of food system, right? Which is what we're going to get into in just a bit. But this is going to mean, cultured, plant-based meats. It's going to mean a reduced amount of selection, right? Because under a socialist, communist, rule of law, you don't need to have, 100 different competitors. You just need to have, one or two suppliers of a product, and that's it. And you get to choose either A or B, right? And that's pretty much it, right? This is the future that we are being thrusted into by these devils, these Edomites, which for the most part you would call them Caucasians today. But let's get back to this article. It says, the Labor Department said this month that consumer prices in May rose 0.6%, pushing the annual inflation rate to 5% over the last 12 months. Other government data reveals wholesale costs for various meats jumped 20% since the start of the year. Also, producers' prices for processed poultry in May soared to a record high. According to more government data, restaurant food prices rose 4% in May than a year ago, and with limited service meals up 6.1, full service 4.1 over the last 12 months, the biggest jump since 2008. Bloomberg spoke with Tampa, Florida restaurateur Andrew Cuomo, who increased menu items by 2% to 4%. He operates a 6-location chain called Green Market Cafe and attempts to keep food and paper costs below 35% of his menu prices. His computer keeps warning him that certain items like chicken have doubled in the last 6 months. Cuomo isn't worried about passing along costs to consumers because everyone in the industry is doing it, he said. Some restaurants are drastically raising menu prices. Could it go up more? It's scary. I'm hoping that it levels, he added. Restaurant chains Chipotle raised its menu price by 4% due to increasing labor costs and food prices. Another chain, Cracker Barrel Old Country Store Inc., raised its menu prices by 3% amid persistent increase in wage and commodity expenses. Right? And you see this, man. You see how these companies right now they're increasing it little by little, right? They're changing it. What you're literally seeing, man, is you're seeing what has happened in countries like Venezuela, Brazil, where basically the vendors, the shopkeepers had to basically raise the prices, right? It got so bad that they would do it, over in the Weimar Republic, that prices would rise by, from the morning to the afternoon, right? But, right now it's just starting off that they're doing this, every few months. And again, this is only going to increase, and you're only going to see it. And pretty soon it's going to be 4% here, 3% there. And then, but eventually, after about a year or two, we're going to basically be paying an increase of 15 to 20%, man. And what does that mean? That means that a $10 meal that you had to pay is now going to basically be $15, right? And again, we're all seeing this, man. We're all seeing this, like the price changes that I just talked to you about, man, about meat. An $18 pound of carne asada is now going for fucking $15, man. Consider that, man, and you are still making your standard wages, man. So you are now stuck in what is known as the inflation bubble, man, where you're making the same amount, but the prices are going to continue to go up. And what we're going to eventually see is that all this pushing to raise minimum wage, it's going to happen. But guess what? That raise that you're going to get to keep up with inflation, eventually it's going to ultimately end up buying the same amount of food that you were able to buy before, because prices have now gone up, right? Let's continue. So far, consumers' confidence remained steady in June amid warnings that inflation could sour their mood. The great debate today is if inflation is transitory, and the latest report of Bank of America's Michael Hartnett concludes U.S. inflation's to remain elevated for 2 to 4 years, which, again, when people say that inflation is transitory, what they're saying is that, oh, it's only going to be here for a little bit, right? But the Bank of America is telling you that this shit's going to last for 2 to 4 years, right? So in 2 to 4 years, the prices are going to continue to go up, right? And do you really think Esau is going to tell you the truth that we might not even make it 2 to 4 years from now, and by the time we get there, the scriptures say that we're gonna be, things are gonna go fucking out of control, man. There's gonna be war, there's gonna be pestilence, right? So these devils, they're raising the prices on you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Well, at least if you're playing by their rules, right? But we're gonna get into some solutions in a bit. So much for the transitory narrative stuffed down our throats by the monetary wonks at the Federal Reserve. Get used to paying higher prices, or just eat at home. Or perhaps some restaurants will keep prices steady but decrease the size of the meal, something known as shrinkflation. Right? You see that? Some other things that are going to happen is you're going to start seeing replacement proteins come onto the market, right? This is something that also popped onto my radar that's related to this. It says 5,000 burgers per day. World's first mega lab-grown meat factory opens. Now, why do you think they've been pushing plant-based foods for the longest? Now, this factory here is actually in Israel, ran by these Amalekites, right? Because they ultimately knew that they needed to change the diet of the masses, man. They're changing what you're gonna eat, right? This is actually a lab-grown piece of chicken right here, man. Let's continue. Let's just read some parts of this to show you what it tells you here, right? Actually, let's just read the whole thing. It says, the World Economic Forum, the Great Reset plan includes, right? And this is real. Look at this, the Great Reset, right? That's that Klaus Schwab, that fucking New World priest. Because when you look at Klaus Schwab, he's a priest for the New World Order, right? There's images of him. He declared the Great Reset that's going on right now. It says the Great Reset plan includes a complete transformation of the global food and agricultural industries and the dieting of humans. The architects behind this plan are preparing for a meatless society with the introduction of cell-based slaughter-free meats. Before this, which basically means they're gonna grow your meat in fucking petri dishes, people. They're gonna grow it from bacteria and shit, right? And it's gonna be meat, but it's gonna be meat that's basically cloned and replicated in fucking big old vats of fucking cells and shit, man. That's what they want to feed you, right? Look at that movie, what is it, Snowpiercer, where they end up finding that the protein bars that they were eating were ultimately gelatinized roaches, right? That's ultimately what they're going to do, man. Why do you think the World Economic Forum and the G7 meeting ultimately came down that they want people to start eating more insects, right? What do you think they're going to do with those insects, man? They're going to grind them up into raw protein, right? Raw protein fiber, and they're going to make your food out of that, man. Continuing. Before this decade is over, we're all going to be eating some form of slaughter-free meat, including chicken, pork, and lamb, and beef. The point of all this is to generate fewer greenhouse emissions at cattle farms, use less land for farming, and reduce the use of fresh water and grains for the traditional process of growing livestock. The aim is for a sustainable future, and already we've noted a few companies producing cell-based slaughter-free meats. However, these facilities are opening at limited output as it is costly to produce fake meat. That's where Future Meats Technology of Israel comes into play with their brand new facility able to pump out 500 kilograms, 1,102 pounds of cultured meat products per day, or the equivalent of about 5,000 hamburgers per day. This facility opening marks a huge step in future meat technology's path to market, serving as a critical enabler to bring our products to shelves by 2022, right on time for the inflation of your food prices, people. You see, these devils, they know what they're doing. This is why they're setting this up, right? They're making it seem like they're being reactionary, but they're actually planning all this shit out, man, because it tells you in the Bible that these devils have these plans all set up. And guess what? This whole cell-based food, fake meat, it ain't going to work. And this is ultimately going to be the reason why the famine is gonna take place, man, because people aren't gonna want to buy this, right? And the people who eventually will buy this are going to be they're going to be affected some way, right? There's already been reports that the Impossible Burgers are basically contaminated with glyphosate. That's that Monsanto chemical which is known to cause cancer, right? So you see, these devils got you every way, coming and going, man. See, this is why we need the Lord to come back and destroy these devils, man, because of all the shit they do. They fuck up everything. Kushak said the facility produces cultured chicken, pork, and lamb products, and beef production will be coming online soon, right? And this is basically this is your new farm of the future. This is the farm. This is Esau's farm, people. The New World Order, right? So remember when you've seen those images depicted in the Matrix where they're showing the vats growing humans, right, and feeding them their own liquefied, dead people, right? This is what the beginning of all that looks like. Okay. Oh, man, this future is fucked, man. This is why we need the Lord to come save us, man. Jeremiah 15:2. And it shall come to pass, if they say unto thee, whither shall we go forth? Then thou shalt tell them, thus saith Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, such as are for death to death, and such as are for the sword to the sword, and such as are for the famine to the famine, and such as are for the captivity to the captivity. So you see, this thing is coming no matter what, right? And you're gonna have your lot in it. Okay, now it's up to you right now to decide what's going to happen, right? Now ultimately it's up to the Lord to decide what's going to happen for you, but again, you need to take action and turn to the Lord completely, or go about your life living it, and hope that this these events that we're living through, that these devils are trying to pretend is all a matter of happenstance, actually blows over, right? But like I said again, like it tells you here, man, such as for the death to the death, and such as to the famine to the famine. So that being said, man, if you have it within your capabilities, you need to prepare for this, man. What does that mean? Well, if you have a little bit of land, a backyard, if you have a front yard, tear that shit out, man. Start planting some food if you can, man. Yes, I understand that, the Bible tells us that we have to be as pilgrims on the land, but what does that mean? That means that if you need to leave that house, you leave it. Fuck that food, right? Take off. You take off and preserve your life if you have to, okay? But in the meantime, while you're there, wherever the Lord has put you, right? If you have a balcony, go get one of the brothers, man. He makes these beautiful, hip height planting beds, man, right? Where you basically can grow zucchini, onions, all this type of stuff, man. Tomatoes out of it, man. See, what's gonna come is a future where food is going to become very expensive. Not only is it going to become very expensive, but it's going to become very much more contaminated than it is now, right? And this right here will eventually affect you, not only economically, but by your health. And there's a saying that in the future, those that will eat are going to be those that are going to grow their own food, right? And we've seen examples of this during World War I, when there was victory gardens, when people here in America would grow their own food. In fact, it wasn't up until, the late 60s, man, where it was very common for people to actually have, gardens in their foods, man. If you ask a lot of your grandparents, right, even a lot of your parents, if they're baby boomers, man, when they were young, I'm sure they'll tell you how their parents or their grandparents had their own home farms, man, right? They had chickens, they did things, right? Because this is the way that humanity is supposed to be, man. You're supposed to grow your own food, be self-sufficient to a certain extent, right? It's only the Edomite way of fast food living where you depend on these supermarkets, these fast food markets, right? You can't even cook a fucking egg, right, in Esau's system, man, right? Because they want you to be dependent. Now, that being said, the Lord, if Lord will, he gives you a will, you should start preparing for yourself, man. Put away some rice, some beans, which make a complex protein, right? Store it, right? Start going online, look up, food preparation. Now, I'm not saying that's going to save you from coming, but it's going to help you, okay? And if you can't store, a little bit of extra food, store some money, right? And how do you do this? You buy gold and silver, right? And if you can't do that, you could also invest into cryptocurrency, right? And there's other videos that go into it and that shows you how you can do it. But ultimately what you're doing is you're saving the purchasing power of your money, okay? See, because you got to understand, if you invest in gold, silver, or crypto and it goes up, it's not that it is going up, it's that the dollar is ultimately going down, right? So, but that's a whole other story. But let's read this. This is 2 Ezra 5:1. Nevertheless, as coming the tokens, behold, the days shall come that they which dwell upon the earth shall be taken in a great number, and the way of the truth shall be hidden, and the land shall be barren of faith. And that's what's happening now. You see, people right now are not able to understand what the truth is, because the world has been basically deprived of the truth, right? And the faith that it is provided is ultimately a corrupt faith. It is a child molesting, blood drinking religious organization that is simply out there to keep you enslaved and take your money, right? And this is why people ultimately have gone away from the Bible, right? Because they think that these church and these church organizations is actually what the Lord is about, right? But when you read the Bible, you find out that that's the furthest thing that the Lord is about. And in fact, the Lord actually sees these houses of worship as his enemies, right? But again, Salaki, I don't want to digress. Let's continue. Verse 2. But iniquity shall be increased above all that which thou now seest, and that thou hast heard long ago, and the land that thou seest now to have root shalt thou see wasted suddenly, right? And that right there is talking about the coming destruction of America, of Babylon the Great, for the wickedness that it has done upon the earth, and also that includes the wickedness that it is going to make the Israelites that dwell within it are going to have to go through, right? Because ultimately this is our judgment, to have to go through this evil ass time, man. But again, if you have the Lord on your side, if you understand what's going on, if you've been awoken to the truth, then at least you're going to have that on your side. You're going to have the Lord on your side, and that's going to give you stability in this wicked ass time. So I think I had one more scripture. Yeah, this is Jeremiah 51:6. Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Right? And so you hear that, people? If you're still living in this world, still trying to make your way in this place, man, I don't know how much more clear we got to make it, man. This place is going down, and it's not going to rise up again, man. Right? These devils are pretending that this is only transitory, that it's temporary, that things are all going to go back to normal. If you haven't realized right now that this is the beginning part of the end, that it's only going to continue to get worse and worse, and it's going to ultimately end up in this dystopian nightmare future that you always see presented on these shows, then I don't know what to tell you, man. Right? But ultimately, right, this right here is your warning that these increasing food prices is the beginning of the coming prophesied famine. Right? So you ultimately, if you can, start getting prepared, Akim. Right? Start buying up a little bit more food that you could save, right? Start preparing gardens if you can, right? And besides, growing a garden is a nice hobby to have, man. It shows you how to work with the land. You know, you understand a bit more about husbandry, right? Farming the land, taking care of it, right? It's a trip when you grow your own wheat and you grow your own vegetables, man. It's a beautiful thing, right? That's why, what is that saying, right? God made dirt and dirt don't hurt. So, you know, some food for thought. So, till the next time, Akim, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem, Yahushai, Ba'Shem, Rakal Kodash. Double honors my teachers, the apostles and elders of the great millstone. Peace and mercy to the elect. Shalom.